Good morning and welcome back to the latest edition of Data Center News Asia and to the new DC Byte office. Rhys, what are we covering today?
We've got a few stories today, James. We've got AWS investing a load of money in New Zealand, AWS buying power in... AWS investing a load of money in Australia,
There we go.
buying power in New Zealand. In New Zealand, there's a telecom giant Spark investing more into data centers. There's a big new campus that we just found out about in Johor, and Oracle appear to be shopping as well in Singapore.
Yes. Let's start with AWS Australia, shall we?
Yes, that's the second version of the one I said, not the first one. So yeah, we'll AWS Australia. This is a big investment. They've got two regions, and you said 6 AZs already down there. That's Melbourne and Sydney. And this is a big investment story.
Yeah, so they announced it was all across the press, particularly in the Australian press, that they were investing $13 billion in the next 5 years. So this is in line with the opening up of the Melbourne region, which happened very recently. So I don't think it's an open secret, shall we say, that they've got a number of self-builds going on there and will also be leasing significant capacity down in Melbourne. So I think that's part of what makes up this $13 billion number. Some of the other kind of highlights from that was mentioned was they will be entirely on renewable energy by 2025 down there. They've got, I think it was solar farms in New South Wales generating 392,000 megawatt hours each year, and they're opening up. I think the wind one was in Victoria, which is 717,000 megawatt hours in Victoria, which is obviously going towards these Melbourne data centres. Couple of the other highlights from the press release: they've invested $620 million in fibre links. A number of the key clients that were referenced as part of this project included Qantas, NAB, and a number of different government departments who are all going to be taking advantage of this new region. So another boost for an already buoyant Australian data centre market.
Yeah, it's a huge total infrastructure spend, and it's interesting to see the way when they're deploying into these regions, it's a full, it's a full suite of infrastructure, fibre, cell towers, even renewable power. It's, I guess, a boon for the local economy. Probably takes some pressure off the government to do some of the work. But good news from Amazon, and I'll be interested to see how these numbers actually turn out with the renewables, because this is the other one that they announced this week. Probably a bit less fanfare, it's much smaller, but they've got a PPA agreement with Mercury Energy in New Zealand for 103 megawatts, and that's from the Tarita South onshore wind farm. I think the thing to note with that is they're buying that as when we talk megawatts for a data center, that would be 103 megawatts of power. For a wind farm operating an average of like a 36% capacity factor, that's actually going to be about a third of that in terms of the power that they get from it. So interesting to see how these numbers come out. I know there's a lot of criticism of the PPA system, but from my end, it's good to see the investment going into the renewables, and it's good to see someone picking up the tab.
Yes, absolutely. Where are we moving to next?
Oh, staying in New Zealand. Sorry, this is Spark. So not a telco company I'm hugely familiar with, but they are the biggest telco in New Zealand. And they didn't give too many specifics, but it's another investment story. They are committing, and it sounds a bit pale in significance next to $13 billion, but New Zealand is a bit smaller. They're committing 300 million New Zealand dollars, which I think is about 150 something million US dollars. And they're going to be dividing that between, most of the investment is going into new data centers, and some is going into 5G cell towers as well by 2026. So, joining. Well, last week we had a couple of New Zealand stories as well, I think, and lots more investment for Auckland.
Yeah, we're actually going to be checking out some of the DCs down there in the next month or so as well. So looking forward to seeing how both the AWS and Microsoft developments and some of the colo facilities which is going to house them. Can be interesting. Right, are we going to Malaysia or Oracle next?
Let's do Malaysia, since you've kindly put it up on the screen in huge DC Byte fonts.
Yeah, this is a semi-plug, we were actually looking at it before. But this is MN Holdings, who are partnering with a Chinese firm, DC Science. So they announced, like, I don't want to say out of the blue, it had been on our radar for quite some time, but they announced a 2.7 billion ringgit, or 600 million odd USD development in Sedanak Tech Park, I think it's called, which is in Johor Bahru. It's not quite across the border from Singapore. It's slightly further up in Malaysia, but it's where a number of the other developments that we've kind of probably been reporting on the past year or so now in Johor Bahru is going to be set up. Like I said, some of the figures here, again, huge. 120 megawatts, I think they said that this project is scalable to, which...
We're going to have to revise all of the calculations that you once gave me for the back of a matchbox, megawatt to dollars. This is going to be completely revised. Some of these are coming way under in Malaysia and India.
Well, that part doesn't add up. So I wonder if there's a IT feed in there as opposed to, MVA feed as opposed to an IT load number mixed up somewhere in the report. But yeah, because that would kind of be half the cost of what you would standardly associate with. But anyway, I'm just, like I said, quoting. Anyway, they're going to be starting first half of 2024, so not going to start for a while. But I believe this was on the back of the China Business Forum, Chinese Business Forum, which is held in Malaysia recently. So yeah, it's Western operators and Chinese operators kind of evenly dividing Johor right now.
Yeah, well, we'll not talk too much about land grab situations, but this is Shanghai DC Science's first data center outside of China. Now, I don't know too much about it. I was having a little Google earlier when the story broke, and these guys seem to be offering a full, almost at least what they're advertising online is a full suite of cloud and data centers. So they seem to be positioning themselves as more than an operator. They have two subsidiaries, one of which was bought from IBM in China a year or so ago, and that's like a sort of systems integrator type company, and then they also have a little cloud platform. So yeah, interesting to see what they offer, because the other campuses we've speculated are going to be more hyperscale, taking up some of that cloud capacity, whereas that doesn't necessarily seem to be the business model for these for DC Science. Yeah,
well, let's wait and see. Eagle-eyed viewers would have spotted that the DC Byte team was in Johor last week, and we did share a couple of photos on LinkedIn, so we do have more information on this site for people who are keen to learn more, so get in touch. Right on cue, the screen behind us has turned off, power save mode, sustainable of course. But that brings us on to Oracle.
So second cluster of data centers. I was confused because I didn't know they had data centers, but you've showed me that Oracle are taking colo space. Okay. Is there a second cluster worth of colo space on the market in Singapore? It looks pretty high take up so far.
Yeah, that was I have to say my first thought when I saw it. Like, where are they actually getting chunks of capacity to satisfy this? So I think some of these commitments were probably made quite a while ago now, and it's only now that they're bringing them online. There's also rumours in the market that some of the previous cloud commitments from one country in particular are not all being taken up and are so actually being put back onto the market, but that is rampant speculation, which we don't do, of course, on this news channel. But anyway, yeah, our Oracle are, I think previously people were a bit, didn't always use the word hyperscale around when discussing Oracle, but like the chunks of capacity that they are taking down now are certainly in that hyperscale sphere. So this is good. Yeah, going to be interesting which facilities they end up in. This is their 41st region, as they call it globally. So I think that's 4 existing in APAC. So Australia, India, Japan, and South Korea. Yes, correct. They're growing very fast. I think in their latest report it was 40% that their revenues were growing by.
This is their only one in Southeast. Well, the previous one they announced last year is the only one they have in Southeast Asia, then in Singapore. So they've not yet gone into the.
It's interesting because they did announce an additional, I think it was 10 new regions, and my plan before this was to check to see if any of them were in places like Jakarta. I didn't, but maybe we'll post a link to where they are below, and people can check it out themselves. But I know previously they were looking outside in other markets in Southeast Asia, so we need to verify and check if any of them are one of those one of those new 10 ones. But yeah, they're taking down big capacity across the region. So yeah, another one to keep an eye on.
Well, exciting times. New data centers, new customers, all lining up. The fates. But when are you off to KL? I mean, you just got back from JB, but when are you off to KL?
KL, I am going to on red-eye flight on Wednesday next week.
And that, of course, won't be a jolly with the Knight Frank guys. That will be a strictly DC Byte Knight Frank collaboration business.
Yes, well, we're launching their Malaysia white paper together, which should be fun. And we're going to do some site visits, and we're going to, I don't know, we might have a steak in the evening.
Excellent. What a wholesome trip that will be.
It will.
And you have a birthday in the office. This is in the new DCY office. We're doing some birthday celebrations now.
Yeah. So shout out to Teresa, who we celebrate. Well, her birthday was actually last week, but we celebrated it today. So anyone watching this far, please wish Teresa a happy birthday.
Yeah. Dedicated viewers in the comments, because you've watched now the whole show.
11 odd minutes. So well done.
And on that note, I think we'll wish everyone a happy Friday and get off for the weekend.
Yeah, everyone enjoy your Easter break or long weekend.